When we were preparing for the speakers were preparing for what they were going to talk about, one of the things that I said that was picked up and that was controversial was I said crypto is highly regulated. Who here agrees with that concept? And who? Well, one person. who thinks it's the Wild West? Okay, all right, that's kind of what I'd expect. So, like my thesis is there's a misconception that crypto is the Wild West. In my view, it is already highly regulated and there's a high bar. But that is obviously not the view that the likes of Gary Gensler in the SEC has said. So, if you let me read this, Gary Gensler said in an interview, Bitcoin is primarily a speculative volatile asset that's also used for illicit activity, including ransomware, money laundering, sanction evasion, and terrorist financing. There's a lot of non-compliance with laws around anti-money laundering. This is really the Wild West. But it's not just the SEC. In 2023, the UK Treasury Committee released a report and some recommendations to government where they were saying that they recommended that crypto should be regulated as gambling. And their concern was that the government's path of increasing regulation could effectively provide a halo effect around crypto, giving consumers the full sense of security that it was a safe environment to engage in. I'm here to disabuse you of some of these misconceptions and to also explain where Bitstamp sits within the ecosystem and why investing with Bitstamp as one of the most regulated exchanges is a differentiated position. So I think, and Charlie I think will agree with this, there's a general consensus around those that are actually in the sector that more regulation is needed to make the crypto project a success. And I think we are well on that journey, but I think we are, going through a tipping point in regulation, particularly in the UK and Europe. At Bitstamp, we actually believe that crypto regulation has strategic value and that the importance of crypto being a fully regulated environment is important to normalise crypto investing and dramatically increase mainstream adoption as an investment activity. Put very simply, mass adoption requires a regulatory framework. So let me tell you about Bitstamp. Bitstamp's role in the ecosystem is a spot exchange. We've been around since 2011, and we offer customers the ability to safely trade within a secure environment, knowing that we've met certain standards of mainstream financial services regulators. In the UK, where we have a vast registration regime, virtual asset service provider regime, we're one of only 40 firms that have been able to secure the registration with the FCA. And that is like no mean feat. When you think that there were 340 applications, of which 15% were either refused or rejected, and 71% were withdrawn, which effectively means the FCA told them to withdraw. So 14% of firms in the UK got through that barrier. Globally, we've got 50 licenses, and that includes payment licenses in Luxembourg. And in the US, we have MTL licenses and a highly sought-after BIT license. So a BIT license in New York is only 32 BIT license holders. The kind of similarity of all the regimes is that they've adopted a global standard, which is the recommendations from the Financial Action Task Force. And this has resulted in the 5th Money Laundering Directive in Europe and the changes to the UK money laundering regulations in the UK. And essentially what this does is requires crypto firms to adhere to the same AML counter-terrorist financing standards as traditional banks and financial services institutions. At Bitstamp, we run a process of onboarding customers, which means we conduct due diligence on the customer. We look at their risk of being associated with financial crime. We run them through sanctions checks to make sure that they're on the sanctions list. We continually do due diligence on customers, and we monitor all transactions of the customers to check that they're not associated with illicit activity or financial crime. Where we do spot illicit activity or we've got suspicions, we file suspicious activity reports with local FIUs. This is exactly the same as banks and other financial institutions. It is exactly the same process, exactly the same policies, and exactly the same procedures.